UGA versus Florida, the preview, the world's largest cocktail party, outdoor cocktail party, I should say. Chris, you, interestingly enough, obviously, I'm a Georgia fan. Sometimes I don't like to cover my own team. I don't like to sound biased or anything like that. I like to take the opposition a little bit and also do a little bit of intel on them. So with that being said, Chris, want to tell me a little bit about my Bulldogs here?
Absolutely. We talk about this off air. We talk about Georgia quite a bit off air than we actually do on air. Christian, like I said, he's a pretty humble guy. He doesn't want to brag about his Bulldogs going for that three-peat, but I like to remind him that they are at times. But Georgia's a different team than the previous 2 years, right? We don't sit around on this channel and sit here and say, what have you done the past 2 years or last year? Georgia's a different team. They don't run the ball incredibly well. They don't have a Sony Michel or a DeAndre Swift or somebody like that. But Carson Beck is, to me, and we've talked about this a few times on this channel, has been playing amazing. For a guy who's only started, this is his first year. I think is he a junior, Christian? Am I right? Is that what he is?
Yeah.
He's a junior. So he's waited his turn. And, man, the kid's played awesome. You look at his numbers there, 173 for 235. He's over 2,100 yards this year, 12 TDs, 4 picks, right? Very good season so far this year. I honestly, if I had to do my top 5 in my Heisman campaign right now, Carson Beck would make my cut. I think it's crazy that he wouldn't. But going forward here with this Georgia team, like I was saying, this defense isn't the 2021 defense. That's for damn sure. It's not even last year's defense, but they play a lot of bend, don't break. People are going to look at their schedule, right, Christian, say, oh, they were down 14-3 to, South Carolina, who's not a very good team this year, comparatively to the SEC. They're going to say, oh, Auburn was up on them for quite a bit in that game. It seems like everybody's trying to make an excuse. Now it's Brock Bowers out for the season, more than likely. He's not coming back. Georgia's beatable. I think you can make any excuse you want for Georgia. In my heart, though, and I'm not the diehard Georgia fan, I still think Georgia's leaps and bounds better than most teams they're going to play this year, and I favored them in every game. This one here, though, is going to be interesting. You guys are coming off a bye week. Florida's coming off a bye week. The big thing here with me in this game, Christian, I'm going to kick it over to you for Florida here in just a second, is Georgia's obviously the better football team here on paper, right? And I think comparatively, people are going to throw it back in my face. Well, who Georgia played so far this year? And that's fine. And you could say that. But I want to hear from you as you're taking the Florida Gators here. We have people on this channel that like to remind us that Florida is, the next up-and-coming Jesus Christ, if you will. I want to hear your thoughts before we dive into a score and a prediction here.
Yeah, Chris, I think this is, again, first and foremost, I think this is going to be, we talked about it before we got on air today. This is probably going to be Georgia's toughest opponent yet. Now, a lot of people are going to take a look at, Kentucky and what Kentucky did to Florida and everything like that. Here's why this matchup, I think, is really kind of a wash for me, and that scares me a little bit, is because Georgia, like Florida, right, plays really good at home, and on the road, they can kind of that's when they're susceptible to lose, right? This game is at a neutral site, so anything can probably happen. It's going to be split down the middle, 50-50 Florida-Georgia fans. There's something, and this game means something, right? Because inevitably, if Georgia was to lose this game and Florida wins it, they would probably take the crown right there for the SEC East at that moment. Now, they still have a large schedule to play. We've talked coming into this year, how good is Florida's defense going to be? Florida's defense looks leaps and bounds better than they did last year. They gave up, 30-plus points, though, to South Carolina, in what I thought was a very one-dimensional South Carolina team. We know what they want to do, but when Spencer Rattler's on, man, he is on. So I'm not going to necessarily give that to him. On the road against Kentucky, we saw what that rush defense looks like. But I think Florida, they're coming off a bye week. They're going to clean a lot of that stuff up. They've got a lot of film to watch Georgia, and they're gonna kind of look to see what they can do. Chris, the other interesting thing here is we've talked about Graham Mertz, right? All year long, I've kind of bashed on him. You've kind of bashed on him. Putting up similar numbers, to Carson Beck. The biggest difference is about 300-ish yards on about the same amount of pass attempts there for Graham Mertz. He's not a home run guy. He's not going to throw it super deep on you. More or less, he's going to be a guy that's going to probably dink and dunk you down the field, and he's going to take a shot later in the game, right? He's going to set it up kind of like that old school Alabama offense, murder ball, right? With all those underwhelming quarterbacks that they had that ran those offenses. But man, the numbers across the board look pretty similar. So these are two teams I think that are kind of cut from the same cloth this year. It's going to be really interesting. Florida's on the come up right now, and Georgia is just kind of my dogs have been they have not played a full game this year. I will put it that way. They have not played a complete game this year. Probably, if you could make that argument, it would be against Kentucky. But we're a few weeks removed from Kentucky, Chris, and we're going to see what happens coming off this bye. I'll let you kind of give your prediction for this game.
Yeah, no, I mean, you make a good case for the Florida man. Obviously, I have no love for Florida. I hope Georgia rolls personally in this game. But and that's kind of where I'm going to stand when I give my prediction here, guys. There's not much more to talk about. We know enough. We're halfway through the season. I've seen enough of both teams to know in my heart. I agree with Christian. I think this game is going to be close. I think Florida is going to be competitive in this game, but only for a half. Give me, because I think Georgia's got the better coach and the better quarterback, and I actually think they still have the better defense. Give me Georgia 31, Florida 14. I do. I truly think it'll be close at halftime. I think the doors fall off in the second half for Florida.
I hate to do it, Chris. I hate to do it, and it hurts my soul to say this. Give me Georgia 31, Florida 24.